Top of the Scots podcast, your one-stop shop for stories of Scottish sporting success.
Hello and welcome to the Top of the Scots podcast, the show that brings you all the success stories of Scottish sport. I'm Robbie Gray, and today I'm joined by ex-footballer and manager David Winnie. Hello, David.
Hello.
So, start off, could you tell me a bit about who you are and how you got into football kind of coming up as a youth?
Oh, that's a long story. Okay, I started many years ago with a local, what was called then Boys Club team in Barhead, and it just went from there. I was spotted by a manager at the time at St Mirren, a chap called Alex Ferguson, and he brought me in. But just after that, he just left to go to the Academy at the time. There was a guy called Jim Clooney. So when I came into St Mirren, I did okay. They offered me, it was called an S form at the time. I signed that, and it kind of went from there. I was still at school in Paisley, but combining that with playing football, training with St Mirren. And it got to the extent, doing well at football, that I made my debut in the first team. I think I was 16, 17. It was kind of the old League Cup section thing. It was against Hearts. So that was my introduction to the first team. And it went from there. I was studying at school, trying to get my highs whilst combining that with football. I was fortunate in that the demands football-wise at that time weren't quite as great. I was allowed to develop, and also through schooling. But it came to a point where I just finished my hires, at the time. I still call hires in Scotland, I should be older. I just finished the hires, and the manager at the time at St Mirren, a guy, Alec Miller, he was kind of pressuring me to come in as a full-time player. My career in really, it kind of definitely started at St Mirren. I went from strength to strength. We got a manager in Alex Smith, who we had a good team at the time. It was a good young team, but they weren't really fulfilling their potential and the promise. And Alec came in and he transformed it overnight. He let the players go and play. Such that within 5 months, give or take, of him coming into the club. Not even that, I don't think. We reached the Scottish Cup final. Yeah,
I was just about to ask you about that, funnily enough.
And we were underdogs. That's for sure. But Alec had brought in and he bred such a culture within the team. And as well, half of the team, about 5, 6 of the players, were under 20 years old. It was like a youth team plus a few. But he put this belief into us that we could beat anybody. I mean, you have to bear in mind as well that the Dundee United team that we played in the final were playing in I think it was the UEFA Cup final the following week, and they'd beaten Barcelona, they'd beaten Manchester United, they'd beaten Borussia Mönchengladbach to get to the final. So they were no mugs, one of the best teams in Europe. But we knew in the final we were going to have a hell of a game in our hands. And to be honest, I think we used a subtle tactic in Dundee United that day. We bored them into defeat. I have to say, it was one of the. I've looked at it and I'm trying to be. I'm looking at it with, from an objective standpoint. And I can't get my head out. That thing was terrible.
1-0,
Oh, it was a slog in the rain. It was kind of drizzle. And the guy that scored the goal, Ian Ferguson was a great player. I mean, his career tells that. But he had an absolute shocker that game. Honestly, he couldn't have. He did nothing other than score the winning goal.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I don't really remember much of the game because it was that bad actually.
Yeah.
It was after it really that stuck out for me, in that the final whistle's blowing, we've won the cup, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, and the whole place is hand and parts going crazy.
Yeah.
And I think, oh God, we've done something. We've won something. But it was in the dressing room after it. I'm sitting and I'm going about with the other younger boys, and the captain of the day was Billy Abercrombie, but the guy that was the captain of the team, a lad called Tony Fitzpatrick, he's sitting next to me, and he's just looking at his medal, because Tony hadn't won anything. He'd had a long illustrious career, but he hadn't won anything. And he'd won this Scottish Cup winners medal. He's just looking at it. And I thought, God, we've actually won something, we've achieved something. After that, it was a whirlwind. We didn't get the opportunity as a team to actually enjoy winning it, because straight after it we had a big reception at Paisley Town Hall that night, and then down at the hotel at the airport. I can't remember what it was called then, but it's the Holiday Inn where it is now. But the following day we flew out to a big tournament in Singapore to play in that. There was Southampton were at it, the champions of Mexico, the champions of Australia. It was a kind of worldwide tournament that, I think it was one of the big electronic companies that arranged it, so we, the winners of the Scottish Cup. And we go over there, and there's good teams, because half the Mexican team were full of Mexican internationals, and Southampton had, they were a really good first division Premier League team at the time. And we went out there and won that tournament as well. We battered everybody. And it was like kind of heady days, because young lads, just like yourself, we've get thrown into this. Half the guys had never been outside Scotland, and we're flying to Singapore, playing this. It was about 60,000-70,000 at this stadium, massive big thing. And at the same hotel, because all the teams were staying together in this big fancy hotel in Singapore. And also at the same time, the Miss Universe contest was going ahead. And guess where the ladies were staying at? Our hotel. So it was like, we've won the Scottish Cup, we're playing this thing, you've got the Miss Universe contest going on, and hello, I'm David from Paisley, hello, I'm Miss Jamaica, and I'm Miss Canada. It's like, as young guys, you've died and gone to heaven.
Yeah.
You're like, this is it, I'm living my best life, it doesn't get any better than this.
This is Top of the Scots, the podcast that hears from UWS graduates at the top of their game.
Because we won the Cup, the Scottish Cup, we qualified for the European Cup Winners' Cup, as it was in those days. And we played a team from Norway, Tromsø, we beat them in the first. We got this team in the second round, or quarters, whatever it was, Mechelen from Belgium. Nobody heard of them. Because you used to get that in those days, like teams that, out the blue. So the media and everybody thought, that's no problem, you'll beat them. And the first game was in Belgium. And by God, they were a good team. It was nothing each in Belgium, but Jesus, they were a good team. And I thought we were going to have to be our best to beat this team. Unfortunately, we had 4 players injured or suspended. I was injured. Ian Ferguson was suspended. I think 1 or 2 others, our better players, were out. And we weren't big enough as a squad to be able to deal with that. And unfortunately, we beat. I think it was 2-1 or 2-0. And that was us out. It was it was a great time while it lasted, but you appreciate it all you can, because it's never going to last forever. I went to Aberdeen. I knew straight away when I got there, it's a bigger club. The demands are much greater, because in the dressing room at that time, whether it was Alan McLeish, Roy Miller, Stuart Kelly, but these guys, Hans Fieldhouse, Theo Snellers, team full of international players, and nobody was expected to beat you at Aberdeen in particular.
Yeah. That was a big jump then between Aberdeen.
I'm not sure it was a big jump. At that time, I had a lot of personal issues in my life that I was trying to shed myself of, and I was struggling to do it. But Aberdeen as well at that time, they were going through a bit of a transition. When I went there, I went in November in 1990, and we lost the title on the last day to Rangers at Ibrox. I'd just come to the club by then, and we were that away from winning the league.
That was a brilliant Rangers team as well.
And like then with Alec, the next season we were in 5th place, and he gets sacked. And the crowd was demanding, Willie Miller take over. Willie took over. We got a bit of a bounce. The following season, we did really well. It was just that little jump. We finished 2nd in the league. We lost the Scottish Cup final and what was the Scottish Cup final, League Cup final, we call it now. We lost that final. So 3 competitions we came the bridesmaid. Any other time, there was Rangers appearance on every occasion. Any other occasion, we'd have won the treble. But I was there for 5 years. I needed a change. I got a chance to go to Middlesbrough. They were kind of on the cusp of the Championship Premier League. I went there on loan to start with. Unfortunately, a game we played, I got a bad injury, and I had to come back to Aberdeen. Middlesbrough were like, look, sorry, we can't take you, it was a bad knee injury. So to go back to Aberdeen. So that scuppered that move. I really, really wanted to go and play long term in England, but it wasn't me. But anyway, I went to Hearts with Jim Jeffries. It wasn't for me. I went to Dundee. It was just for a season. I enjoyed it there. And there was some good young players there. Then went on to play Premier League high levels. But I wanted to come back to the kind of West Coast. I went to St Mirren, come back to St Mirren again, with Tony Fitzpatrick. But the club were in real financial dire straits at that point. And it was such a change in such a relatively short period of time that, it's like, I was from Paisley, so I took it personally.
Of course.
Why the club was going down that road. Because previously I'd been the captain of the team as well, not the second period, the first period. So I took it personally, and I thought, no, this isn't the way it should be. And unfortunately, at the end of the season, I was over there for the season, I left. And I thought, what am I going to do now? I thought, this is my career finished. But I got a call from a guy in Iceland.
You are listening to the Top of the Scots podcast from the University of the West of Scotland.
I was getting towards the end of my career. I thought, why not? I had no expectations. I thought, here we go, a bunch of fishermen and farmers. I did. I was like, well, it's like I washed up here. And it was a guy, the manager of the team, Atley Edverson, his brother Johannes Ederson. He's well known to Celtic fans. He was called Shirley Ederson. He played for Celtic. But his brother Atlee, the manager, I got on really well with him right from the get-go. Atlee had a star career, played for Borussia Dortmund, Bayer in Germany, and he got nearly 100 caps for Iceland. He was a star, a major player, and he was a great guy. And straight away I had to offer him. But I'm thinking, I went to the first training session with the team, and I thought, as I said, here we go, fishermen and farmers. But boy, was I wrong.
Yes.
I always remember this, and I threw the ball in the training session to this young guy, and I was going to apologise to him because it was a poor throw, but he took it down his chest, turned and just rifled it into the roof of the net. And I thought, my God, this boy can play.
Yeah.
It was Eddie Johnson. He went on to Barcelona, Chelsea. He wasn't even the best player in the team. He'd just come back. I realised he'd just come back from PSV Eindhoven to Reykjavik. They got him, and he was kind of rebuilding things again. And he was only with us for a season, but Eddie was a great player. I could see straight away, he didn't go to the top of the tree. But there was better players in the team than him. And such that, I was there 4 years. We competed in Europe. We won the league twice. I won the Player of the Year in Iceland. And it transformed me, not just in a footballing sense, but in a personal sense. It got me away from a dire situation in Scotland. And it showed me another way of life, another culture, another mindset, such that I met my wife here.
Wow.
I know. You go for the night out, you meet your wife. So I met my wife there, and which I'll speak about in a minute. But yeah, it was transformative for me. It was like completely, it was, what do you call it? It's like a sliding doors. I'd had this chance to go to Iceland. I could have taken it, or I could might not have. And if it hadn't, where would it have taken me? I took a chance, and bush, I went from there. Yeah. Such that I've got like a life in Iceland there as well. But I was there for 4 years, player and coach and manager of the team. I come back to Scotland coaching, and I coached in the youth side of it at Rangers. Then I got the job as a manager at Dumbarton. But it was dawning on me that this side of it, the coaching side, is no for me. It takes a certain beast to be a coach and a manager, and it wasn't for me.
Especially in Scotland.
Exactly. But at that time, as I'd come back to Scotland from Iceland, and this had been reinforced in Iceland. You remember what I said earlier about this little hankering, the other card in your pocket, studying. Mm-hmm. I'd always had that, somewhere in the back of my head, if you get the opportunity to do it, maybe take it. Mm-hmm. And as I say, it's been reinforced in Iceland, because I go there and everybody and their granny has got degrees. They can speak about 15 languages to the stage it's embarrassing. Yeah. And they're really, really smart, really intelligent. And they all go to uni, and it's part of the culture that you go there. And plus the access to it's much easier, but that's another story. But it reinforced in me, this is what you can achieve if you go down that route. So I was determined, particularly in the coaching side, as I was winding down in Scotland, I thought I'm not getting anywhere. Then I had enrolled here at what was the University of Paisley at the time, just part-time. And to be honest, when I came in, I had no great plan or vision, because I looked at the prospectus and I thought, right, what the hell do you want to do? You know, and I went, nah. And I was there for law and economics. Quite right, I'll give that bash. There wasn't any master plan. And I took it on a part-time basis. But as the football was winding down, the studies and the ability, that was another thing, being at place of uni, it allowed me to go part-time with a view to doing it full-time. That was the convenience of it. So as one was Winnie and the other one was, you know, doing more of it, and I became a full-time student, in fact. And I was a mature student, you know, it was great here. At a great time, since like 4 years I was here, yeah. But I knew, it's going to sound odd, I knew what I was coming here for. I was to come in, study, do what I had to do, and get out.
Yeah.
You know, I was a mature student, and I had a bit of experience of life, the ups and the downs of it. So I knew what I had to do when I was here. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it. I had a great time here. But I was very focused on, I need to do this.
Your experience in football kind of paved the way for that focus?
Without doubt. Yeah, without doubt. You know, if I'd come here, you know, what's the earliest you can come to university? Is it 21? 20?
You can be, if you're really clever, like 17,
Yeah. I mean, saying that, yeah, it's true, because when I was 17, I'd got all the necessary hires to go, yeah, that's true. But if I'd gone to university then, rather than, you know, again, another sliding doors moment, if I'd gone to uni rather than football, as a 17-year-old, where would that have taken me? You know, my head at that time was full of broken balls. You know, would I have had the necessary determination, dedication, rigour to pursue a career and get the necessary, you know, the degree that I needed? But I was solely focused on that here, such that I got a first in law and economics. But I knew again that once I got the degree here, I thought, right, what am I going to do with it?
That's the question.
You know, the jobs weren't opening up for me. It's like, okay, twiddling my thumbs. And I thought, you know, I'd gone to Iceland, I'd lived there for 4 years. Also in my career, I hadn't mentioned it, I'd gone and played in Australia, in the NSL. I'd gone on loan from Reykjavik to Canberra, which was, at that point in my life, I thought, I'll do this. You know, I had no plans.
It was the experience.
It was a great experience, and I went to a good team. We're playing in fantastic stadiums all over Australia and New Zealand. Every away game you're flying.
Yeah.
And I'm playing with great players, you know, because there's quite a few Italian internationals, Argentinians, Brazilians, all internationals playing for all the big teams there. And I thought, this is fantastic, warm weather, beaches, and you know, all due respect to Paisley, it beats every day.
Oh, yeah.
And I seriously thought about moving there permanently.
Yeah.
You know, sorry, I forgot to speak about this part of life. But I had to come back. I'd gone on loan from Reykjavik to Canberra, so I had to come back to Reykjavik. But when I come back there to Reykjavik, things were even better.
Yeah.
You know, so it was, you know, a pull and a push type thing.
Yeah.
But when it ended there, I'd known myself, you know, I'd come back to Scotland, I hadn't done well coaching. I think because my mindset at the time wasn't for Scotland, because I then met my wife to be, and she was in Iceland, I was in Scotland. And I thought, you know, I'd get back to, I've got my degree, what am I going to do with it? am I going to stay in Scotland? And it was, my mind was, it wasn't here.
Yeah.
I have to say, I wasn't in Scotland. I had to leave. Well, how am I going to do that? My wife to be at the time, she got a job in London, in a big kind of marketing firm in London. And she'd come over from Reykjavik, from Iceland, to do that. So I thought, right, another chance, another leap of faith, another sliding doors moment. I'll take the jump. And I'm sold up here, lock, stock and barrel. And I moved to London.
Yeah.
And I thought naively, with my degree, first class, I walk in and I'm, Charlie White balls there. I can go in there. Nah. I had to do it all again.
Really?
Yeah. Because I wanted to go down the legal route.
Yeah.
So you had to, firstly get a law degree, and then secondly get a training contract with a law firm and qualify. So I had to do I'd got a Scottish degree, which, it's 4 years of study. But I went down to England, the University of Hertfordshire, and they said, well, you need to do a conversion course to get an LLB. I thought, oh God, no, I need to do another 4 years, it's 3 years there. But he said, no, you can do a kind of crash course of a year, or 8 months.
Right.
You do an LLB in 8 months. It's not something I'd recommend.
No.
Not something I'd recommend.
You just cram it all in.
You cram it all in. An English law degree, 3-year degree in 8 months. I was like...
Probably couldn't do it in 4 years.
No, exactly. I thought, at the end of it, when I got my degree, I thought to myself, what were you thinking of? What were you thinking about? But I got it. And then I thought, right, I'm going to go and try and get a job.
Yeah.
And I was lucky, at the time I was living in St Albans, just north of London. And I got a degree, I got a training contract with a law firm there. And it's a 2-year training contract. And it was great, learning every aspect of law and et cetera, et cetera. But at that time, it was just as the financial crash, 2008, 2009, happened, just as I qualified.
Yeah, wow.
And I was like, oh God. But I known my deep down, I didn't want to stay at that law firm.
Yeah.
And as things turned out, I didn't have a choice anyway, because half the staff get cut, all the trainees get, sorry about, when you go. So it was another one of these sliding doors moments that I said, right, what am I going to do? So at that point as well, the sports element of law was starting to really take off. And the sports side of it, not just the football, but other sports. And I thought, right, where are the centres for law? Where's the centres for sports law? The main hub was London, and I'm literally on the doorstep.
Yeah.
So again, I thought, right, I'll go in there, another chance, and I got a job within a week in one of the major law firms in the city.
Yeah.
And it went from there. I was dealing with Premier League clubs, players, agents, Formula One, all sorts of transactions. And I just kind of steadily worked my way through, gaining experience and moving up from, a newly qualified lawyer, literally right around the years, to being a partner in a law firm in whatever it was, 10 years, 12 years. But kind of to finish it all, has come full circle, and I got an offer to come back to Scotland. Not to live here, but to work for a major Scottish law firm.
Yeah.
as head of the sports department as a partner. And that was back in May 2024. And I jumped at it.
Yeah.
Because I've been away from Scotland for nigh on 20 years. And again, it was another one of these, there's a lot of sliding doors in my life. I've never been afraid of taking a chance.
Yeah.
You know, some have worked, some haven't. You know, but you know, I took it, and it's worked out really well for me. You know, again, similarly with my wife to be in, I thought, right, I'll take a chance. It went well. Married. You know, 2 kids later.
Yeah.
And I've got 2 young boys who've got dual nationality, British and Icelandic. And they can both speak it better than I can, that's for sure. And that's really it.
So I think that's all.
Yeah.
All we have today. That's all for the Top of the Scots podcast. Thank you for listening. I've been with David Winnie. Thank you, David.
No, thank you, my pleasure.